Hello everyone, welcome to today's video where we are going to be talking about the introduction to Python programming language. Right, so today's video is going to be an interesting one because we're going to get to understand the basics of what we want to cover, right? Python in general, um, and also we're going to look at how we can get the most out of the course, right? In case if you guys have questions when you are coding, you run into bugs or you run into whatever issues you run into, right? Today we're going to cover everything that you need to know. So without any further ado, let's get started with the video. All right, so yeah, I have this awesome slide with me. Good morning. I can see you guys are coming up already. Emmanuel, good morning. Um, Ademola, good morning. David, good morning. I hope we are all doing well, right? So today we're going to be talking about the course introduction to Python programming tutorial. Good morning, Amid. And please, I want to beg us all not to skip this lecture. Um, it's a very, very important lecture because you're going to get to understand how to address issues when you start coding, the basic things that you need to do to get help also, right? We're also going to look at what Python is, the difference between Python 2 and Python 3, and it's going to be an interactive and interesting section because I'm going to be with you all in the comment section answering your question. All right. So these are the things that we're going to look at in today's lecture. First, we're going to look at the course overview lecture, right? So useful tips for going through the course. Also, we're going to look at how to get help during the course. After that, we are going to move on into the advice on how to approach the course, right? So if you are a beginner or if you are an experienced developer also, I just want to quickly brush up Python programming language. We're going to look at how you can best approach the course, right? And the next one we're going to look at is where to find the course notebook, right? So I'm going to show you where you guys can find the course material so that once we are doing our live class, once the code is updated on the GitHub repository, you're going to go ahead to also follow along, right? So after that, we are going to look at how you can go ahead to use the student community channel because it's very, very important, right? One of the major reasons why we have this community is to basically connect students together and their facilitators also, right? So we'll look at how you can get help from your community and to get the best out of your community channel also. Going to also look at how you can use the gear setting to speed up or slow down videos, right? So if you feel that the video is too fast for you, or the video is too slow for you, you can go ahead to use the YouTube gear settings and increase the playback speed, right? So make sure to always use the comment section, right? And you are going to see the previous discussion. Everything is going to be available there, right? I can see you guys are popping up already. Good morning. I hope we are all doing well. Ibrahim, um, Alfred, Sunday, Akitunde, you are all welcome to today's live session. So next, we're going to um, double check against the course notebook, right? In case you actually need help and you are coding alongside, right? So the best thing for you to do is if you are getting an error, for example, right? If you are getting error when you are running your code, then what you can do is you can double check against the course notebook itself and to compare if your code are actually the same thing, right? So that's why we are going to be giving you this the course notebook when we are actually coding live, right? So next, what you can also do to get help is to use quick Google or Stack Overflow search, right? So in case you come up with any issue, you're having bug or you're facing a problem. Okay, my voice is breaking. Please kindly confirm if you guys can hear me very well now. All right. So in case you are coming up with any issue, you are facing bug or whatever issue you are facing, you can go ahead to quickly use a Stack Overflow search. That way you are going to also get help from Google. I mean, somebody would have faced that issue somewhere before, right? So once you do a quick Google search or Stack Overflow search, you are going to see the solution also, right? So for those that don't know what Stack Overflow is, Stack Overflow is just a platform um where developers tend to upload their problems, right? So if they face any issue before, they get to um upload what they faced before, and you as a developer, once you search for that particular problem, you are going to see that, oh, somebody has faced that issue before, and the person is also going to if the question has been answered, right, um you're going to see it there. The person is going to say, okay, this was the issue I saw. And if somebody has also faced that similar issue and the person has also answered the question, you're going to just read through the Stack Overflow and you're also going to see the answer there, right? So after that, the other way you can get help is to also check the comment section, right? It's very useful because I keep hammering on this. So I keep hammering on this because um people like you, in case you face any issue, just try to use the comment section, and if any other student has done the solution, right, you can just go ahead to follow up on the comment section to review the way the students solve that particular problem. And the team are also going to be there answering questions from students in case they come up with any issue, which is very, very important, right? So the next way you can also get help is to ask new questions on the community group, right? So whatever channel you are from, whatever community you are from. So what I want us to do first is on the comment section, please, I want you guys to type where you are currently joining the class from. If you are joining from Enoch Sub, from Tech with Daveworld, or from Philomath Family, let me see you guys pop in the comment section so I can see the community that is best active in today's class, right? So moving on to what we're saying, if you have any question, you can ask question on the community group, right? Details on what you have tried, and also try to screenshot the error of the code they are facing, right? So that would be a very great way for us to actually assist you better. So for example, let's say you are writing your Python code, right? And what happens is you ran into a problem and you were trying to solve it. Okay, you check the course notebook, you felt that you're seeing that it's the same, right? But you are still having an error. Then you went ahead to do a Google search or Stack Overflow, and you are still facing the same error. For some reason, you are not able to resolve it, right? So what you can do is you can ask questions on the community group itself, right? So that way, if anybody or if any student has faced that error before, they are going to tell you how they approach it or how they solve that particular problem. And also the team members are also there on on each community group. I'm also there with you guys, so once I see the screenshot and the area you're trying to face, we're going to resolve it together. All right, I can see people are popping up already. I feel Philomath family is actually overriding today's class. Philomath family is really popping up today, right? Enoch Sub, okay, you guys are here also. Very good, very good. You are highly welcome. All right, so let's go on into our next slide. So, in case you have any collaboration or you have extra level issue question, or for some reason you are not on the community group, what you can do is you can also send me a mail, right? So just send me a mail. My mail is right here, and there, once I see your mail and I see the question that you also have for me, we're going to resolve it together. So those are the best way you can actually from um get help regarding this Python programming course, right? All right, so the best way to approach this course, right? So what is the best way to approach this course, right? So there are different best ways you can actually approach this course, especially if you are a beginner or if you have experience writing little Python code before. So one of the major way you can get the best out of this course is if you are a beginner, you can read extra notes in the notebook along with the video guide, right? So what you can be doing is once you are watching the video, you can also be looking at the notebook and be coding along, right? So once you are watching the video, you are practicing it on your own end. In case you come up with any issue and you feel that the code you are writing is giving you error, then you can go ahead to check the notebook and compare it with what you are writing. All right. So if you are a experienced developer or you know a little bit about Python before, then what you can do is you can just go to the YouTube video, check the timestamp, and skip to the particular part that you feel that you want to watch, right? So let's say you just want to know about for loop. You already understand what if statement is, right? You can just use the timestamp to actually skip to the particular section where you need to watch, and you can also go through the notebook also. All right. So next is the course notebook, right? So to see the course notebook, since we're going to be doing a live class, right? So everything we're going to be doing in Python programming tutorial class is going to be live, right? And what is going to be happening is once we are done with the live section, right, the materials are going to be uploaded on the GitHub repository, right? So if you don't know what GitHub is, if you are new to programming and you don't know what GitHub is, GitHub is just a platform where developers go ahead to store their code, and we are also going to review GitHub together in this Python crash course, right? So once we are done with the live section, the code is going to be uploaded to the GitHub repository, so that way you're going to have um the live code notebook of what we did in class, right? So later on, we're going to also review how to download and open them, running them in Python Jupyter Notebook, right? And the course link also is going to be dropped on the community channel, right? So whatever community channel you are joining us from is going to be dropped on your community channel, right? So next, you have to make sure to communicate and stay active in your respective community groups, right? So if you are from Philomath, from Inox, or from Tech with Daveworld, whatever community group you are from, please do well to stay active and communicate there, right? It's very important so that you guys can get to talk to each other, relate with each other in case you have any issue. It's going to be very, very easy to resolve. So remember, the purpose of the community is to connect students with other students, right? And also to relate with your facilitators, right? So if you have any issue, please do well to always use your student community channel. So technical issue question related to the course material are best suited for the comment section, right? So for example, if we are doing a new Python course, let's say in a particular day, we are treating variables, right? Or we are treating if statements, right? So if you have any coding issue, it will be best to check the comment section under that particular video. There you are going to see the solutions there if it's available. That will be the best way to approach technical questions related to the course material, right? So make sure to check the comment section of each particular video to see if someone has faced that issue before. That way you can go ahead to say, okay, this person faced this issue and this was the problem solved, in case the team has answered the question in the comment section. I hope we are all following me. So now let's go ahead to look at Python 2 versus Python 3. Now, if you don't know what Python 2 is, or you don't know what Python 3 is, don't worry. I'm going to be explaining what they are and how they came about. So just make sure you follow me in this video. So choosing between Python 2 versus Python 3 used to be a very difficult decision for newcomers, right? To Python programming language, right? So if you are concerned about what Python 2 is or what Python 3 is, so basically Python 2 was the previous version that Python was actually built on, right? So back then in the days, Python was written in Python 2 version. And I'm going to also give you guys a brief history of Python programming language once we go ahead into this class. So basically choosing between these two different versions is usually actually difficult, especially for newcomers, right? But many companies still add the legacy of Python 2 code to be maintained, right? So previously, back in the days, most companies were actually using um, Python 2 to actually write the Python code, right? But after 20, after 2008, when Python 3 was released thereabouts, most companies started switching to started switching to Python 3 programming language, right? So Python 2 was actually released back then in the 2000. That was when Python 2 came about, which had list comprehension and all of that, right? We are going to get to explain everything in case you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you. So just make sure you follow up with the lecture today, right? So, but in this Python lecture that we're going to be taking, everything is mostly going to be treated using Python 3. All right, please kindly confirm if you guys can hear me now. Can everyone hear me now? All right. I guess some people are actually having network issue, right? Because I can actually hear myself from this place. I just paused for a minute to see if I can actually hear myself, and it's working fine. So kindly also confirm from the comment section if you guys can hear me. Let's continue with the class. All right. So let's go ahead with the class. So I was talking about Python 2 and Python 3, the major difference between Python 2 and Python 3. My goodness. All right, so this course majorly focus on Python 3 only, right? So everything that we're going to be doing in today's lecture is going to be majorly based using Python 3, right? The code we're going to be writing, everything we're going to be doing is majorly going to be Python 3, right? So if need be, and you actually want to go back to Python 2, it's a very simple easy jump, right? Once you know Python 3, you guys are going to be very good in writing Python 2 also. Okay. Okay, so now let's go ahead to continue with the Python course. Now let's go ahead to look at Python overview, right? So this Python overview is going to cover the basics of Python, right? Looking at what we can use Python for. We're also going to look at a brief history of Python programming language. Let me see if it's for Python. All right, very good. Since you guys can hear me, then let's continue. So, briefly, let's do a brief overview of what Python is and why choose Python for programming and what you can do with Python, right? This is very important. So we are going to look at why we need Python, what we can use Python for. If you were also in the introduction to data analysis and data science class, we also looked at why you can use Python, right? Why we can use Python, what we can use it for, the different tasks we can use it for, and those cool stuffs, right? So in today's video, we're also going to continue by looking at what we can do with Python, right? Why Python programming is very important. The overview of Python programming language, how they came about, who was the person that invented Python, and what year did he invent Python. So we're going to look at all of that in this lecture, and basically this lecture is actually geared to towards beginner, right? If you're a beginner, is a very, very great course for you to start with, because we're going to be looking at everything from scratch, right? From the introductory lecture down to the final project that we're going to be building, we are going to be looking at everything together from scratch. Okay. All right. So now, Python programming, the brief history, right? So now, Python programming was actually created in the 1980s by a Dutch programmer called Guido van Ransom, right? So this was the Dutch developer that came about with Python programming language, right? And he began work on Python as a successor to the ABC language at CWI, right, in the Netherlands. That was how we came about Python successor, right? So, and after that, around 1991, right, he released the first official version of Python, right? And it include classes, exception, function, and call data types like list and dictionary, right? So if you don't know what all these are, right, we are going to cover it, right? If you're just hearing classes for the first time, if you're just hearing exceptions, if you're just hearing functions and data types like and the rest, right? Don't worry, we're going to cover everything in this Python programming tutorial. So just know that that was the first class, the first aspect in Python programming. It was released with um in the first official version, right, which came out around 1991, right? So around 1994 thereabout also, Python 1.0 was later released, right? And Python 1 actually gained popularity, right? Because of its clear syntax and also um the use of scripting, right? That was when Python 1 gained its major popularity, right? But after Python 1 came about, around 2000, Python 2.0 was now introduced, right? So in the 2000, Python 2.0 was introduced, and when Python 2.0 was introduced, that was when um what's it called, list comprehension came about, right? So during when Python 2.0 came about, that was when list comprehension in Python started gaining its peak, right? And also supporting Unicode, right? That was when um programmers can now go ahead to support Unicode in Python and all of those cool stuff, right? But there was some major issue with Python 2.0, right? And which brought about Python 3.0 coming out around 2008, right? So Python 3.0 was released around 2008, and it basically addressed design flaws in early version. And since 2008, Python 3.0 has actually been the major standard version of Python, right? So that's why companies today now use Python 3.0. When you are doing your Python project now, majorly is Python 3 version that you are going to be using, and that is what we are also going to be covering in this course, Python 3.0. So around 2020, right, Python 2 reached the end of life, right? And when I'm saying end of life, I'm talking about that was when the official community started pushing towards Python 3, that okay, Python 2.0 is no more a stable version again. So around 2020, Python 3 started gaining its peak, and the Python organization started advising people or companies that were using Python 2 to start switching to Python 3, because Python 3 was officially the standard version for Python programming language, right? So now it's now one of the most popular language in the world. As we all know that Python is now one of the most popular language in the world. And why do I say this, right? Because if we go ahead to look at what is happening now in our day-to-day life, you see that Python programming is actually used um for almost all of the tech stacks that are available out there, right? So now, when we talk about data analysis, you use Python programming to actually analyze larger and complex data. We all know that, right? And now, when it comes to also talking about web development, especially if you are geared towards using backend, right? So backend is just the server side of the website itself, and Python can be used to write backend code also, right? So when we talk about writing Django, when we talk about writing flags, when we talk about writing fast API, Python can be used to actually write Python code, right? So there are other programming language I can also use to write um backend code, which is like Node.js. We have Express, Node.js, right? Express, a framework for Node.js, and we also have C Sharp and Java and all of that, right? But Python can also be used for web development, right? So now, and why is it popular again? Python can also be used for game development, right? In fact, it's a very, very popular language for game development, and you can also use Python for data science again, right? So when it comes to building machine learning models, right, working with predicting what is going to happen in the future, you can use Python programming to do that, right? And one of the cool part again is you can actually use Python for AI development again, right? So when you are working with building generative AI products, right? You are working with building large language models, right? Which is a model that was used to build ChatGPT and those chatbots that you are seeing right now. In fact, Python is one of the first language that is used to build generative artificial intelligence products, right? So now Python is now one of the most popular language in the world, and I hope you can all agree with me in the comment section, right? Because we can see how Python is actually becoming popular nowadays in our tech industry, right? So now, Python is also specifically designed as an easy to use language. Now, when we are talking about easy to use language, what do I mean by that, right? So now, let me just quickly give you an overview of what language is like when it comes to computer science, right? So we have something that is called the low level language, we have the high level language, and we have the machine language. Now, I want you guys to pay attention very well. I didn't add this to my slide, but I just feel it's something that I should share it to you, right? So now when it comes to machine language, we should know that the computer understand only machine languages, right? Which is written in binary numbers, which is 0 and 1, right? If you are taking notes, please take note very well, right? So what the computer understand only is machine language, which is written in 0 and 1. And whatever you are doing in the computer, if you cannot transfer what you're writing into machine language, trust me, it will be difficult for the computer to actually understand. The computer can't even understand what you're trying to say if you're, and you see where I'm trying to go to when I'm done explaining, right? So what is low level language, right? Low level language are those language that are written in mnemonics and symbols, right? So for example, if you want to solve a problem, like add two numbers together, right? So how you write it in low level language, it can be something like move ax comma 2, move bx comma 3, then add bx comma cx. Don't worry if you don't understand, right? I'm going to explain. So now what this is doing is trying to tell you that move 3 to the ax register, move 2 to the ax register, and all of that. So it's actually kind of is you can understand low level language, but it's not something that is straightforward, right? And once you are done writing low level language, you actually still have to convert it to a machine language for the computer to understand what you're trying to do, right? And what converts low level language, um an assembly language and assembler, right, converts low level language to machine language, right? You're going to see where I'm going to. Just hold on a minute, right? So now after low level language is something that is called high level language, right? So high level language are languages that are easy for human to understand, right? So for example, if you want to add two numbers together, right, you can say a is equals to 1, b is equals to 2, then C is equals to A plus B. What is going to be my C? My C is going to be 3, right? Because A is 2 and B is 1, right? That's high level language, right? And most of the programming languages right now that you've heard before or that you've probably heard before are written in high level languages, right? You can't hear me? Okay, so kindly confirm if you guys can hear me better from the comment section, right? So when it comes to languages like Python, JavaScript, C++, Java, right? those languages are written in high level language, right? So now Python programming language is written in high level language also. But there's one thing that you need to remember. Our computer does not understand high level language, right? So there's something that converts um high level language into machine language, right? So there are two, right? So assembler converts a low level language into a um machine language, right? So now when it comes to converting high level language right now to um a machine language, there are two things that does that. So the first one is called interpreter and the second one is called compiler, right? So now what the compiler does is your compiler takes all your code, right, and converts everything into a machine language, right? But what does an interpreter does, right? An interpreter takes your code one by one, line by line, right? So in case you write A plus B, going to take that line, convert it to machine language, and so on and so forth, right? So an interpreter converts high level language into machine language line by line, and Python uses an interpreter, right? So now, why am I letting you guys know this? Once you're writing your Python code, it's going to run line by line, right? So you're going to know that, okay, after this line, once I run this Python code, this whole the second line is not going to run if the first line is wrong, right? So Python uses an interpreter and is an high level language, and that is why I said it's specifically designed as an easy language to use, right? Is an easy to use language, right? And trust me, Python programming language is one of the easiest language that you can ever learn when it comes to learning when it comes to learning a programming language, right? Python language is actually the simplest, one of the simplest programming language that you can get started with, right? And it also focuses on readability of codes, right? So it focuses on readability of codes whereby you can break your code into objects, right, and tend to reuse them when necessary. And we are also going to cover everything, right? We're going to look at how we can write what's it called, how we can break our code into reusable components, or how we can write functions, how we can do classes. We're going to look at everything in this Python programming tutorial. So make sure you are following throughout the course lecture. All right, so why do we have to choose Python? Now, Python is designed for clear, logical code that is easy to read and learn. Now, key emphasis on this: easy to read and learn, right? Because I know some of you guys, when you once you start learning, once you start getting about writing code, especially beginners, they'll be like, oh, coding is hard, coding is blah blah blah, stuff like that. But what I want you guys to put in your mind is Python programming language is very easy to learn, right? Very, very easy to learn. Once you can understand the basics very well. Now, I'm laying key emphasis on this because it's very, very important. If you don't understand the basics and you feel that, okay, you can skip one lecture, then you come back and join later if you don't watch the previous one, then that's where you're going to start having small, small issues that, I don't understand this, what's happening, right? Because you do not lay your fundamentals very well, right? So if you want to get good at programming, once what you can do is you have to master the basics. And trust me, one key secret that I will tell you is once you can understand one programming language fundamentals very well, when it comes to working with other programming languages, trust me, it's going to be an easy peasy for you. It's going to be very, very easy for you, right? Um, I can write JavaScript, Java, um, React, and all of that because I understood the fundamentals of programming language, right? So that's one thing I would also advise you guys when you are learning a programming language, when you are learning it, whatever course you are learning, don't skip the basics. Trust me, if you can know the basics very well out there, I'll tell you the truth. Once you can know the basics, when it comes to performing complex tasks that you feel that okay, this might really be like an um a time that it's going to take time for you to solve this particular problem, then you can now go ahead to use AI tools, right? So, but if you don't understand the fundamentals very well, it's be very, very hard for you to use AI tools, especially when it comes to debugging your code, right? So now, lot of existing libraries and framework written in Python, allowing users to apply Python to a wide variety of tasks. Now, what do I mean by this, right? Now, when it comes to working with libraries in Python, like I mentioned in our previous class, that you can actually there are different libraries you can use under Python. For example, I mentioned that we can use NumPy, which is numerical Python for numerical computation, right? So if you are familiar with statistics very well, once when you are doing some when you are doing some stats calculation like Pearson correlation, measurement of dispersion, standard deviation, you know how complex it is when you are calculating your standard deviation in your notebook, right? So you can actually use numerical Python for that, and it's a library that was built on top of Python, right? So there are different libraries that are built on top of Python. We have Panda, Seaborn, Matplotlib. There are a lot, right, that you can actually use for automating your tasks also, right? So there are a lot of existing libraries and framework written in Python, allowing users to apply Python to a wide variety of tasks, right? So that's why it's you will see that Python is actually used for different stacks, right? Fast API, Django, web development, game development. How are all these things possible? They are possible because of libraries. And once we start our Python class, I'm going to break down what libraries are, how to actually create your own library yourself, where you can actually reuse that module in your particular code. We're going to look at all of that once we start our Python programming course, right? So the next thing that I have here in my slide is um it actually focuses on optimizing developer time, right? So rather than a computer's processing time, right? So, and if you also want to check out the Python documentation, the original Python documentation, you can just go to docs.python.org/3, and you're going to get the documentation for Python 3, right? Remember I told you that we're going to be using Python 3 throughout this course because it's the standard library, standard version for Python that is used across organization and industry right now. So now, what can you do with Python, right? So this course first focuses on base Python, which consists of the core components of the language and writing small programs, right? So what do I mean by this? We're going to look at the basics of Python. We're going to look at how to write the core fundamentals of Python, right? I'll look at variables, data types, control statements, if statements, else statements, for loop. We're going to look at all of that, and we're going to look at how to write small programs first before we now start going into larger libraries and also building our own projects with Python, right? So later on, we are going to begin to learn about outside libraries. Like I mentioned earlier on, we're going to look at how to work with NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn. Right, we're going to look at all other cool libraries that we're going to work with, so that we're going to see how Python can greatly expand its capability, right? So you see that once we look at how to use other libraries and framework, you see how is you'll see how Python is very, very vast when working with other tasks also, right? So now, what can you use Python for, right? You can use Python for different and unique tasks, right? So the first one here is automating simple tasks, right? So for example, if you want to automate searching for files and editing them in your folder, you can use Python for that. All right, so you guys are taking note. All right, I'll try not to move the slide so fast. Okay, so the first thing that you can do is you can automate simple tasks by searching for files and editing them. Right. In fact, there was one project I was working for on, and I wanted to rename all of my files in my particular folder. Right. So if for people that are not developers, what you would do is you have to start renaming everything one by one. Right. But what I did then was I just used I imported the OS library from Python, and I basically use that to loop through all my files in my particular folder, and I use Python to basically automate the naming, right? So that's a very cool scenario where you can use Python for. So those simple tasks that you need to automate, you can use Python for that. So the next one is scraping information from a website, right? So when it comes to working with web scraping also, right, we have different libraries that you can use for scraping your projects. For example, we have Selenium, we have Beautiful Soup. So for example, if you want to get some useful information from a particular website, you can use Python to actually scrape those information. Trust me, you can't say you want to go and be copying it one by one from the website. You have to look for a way to automate it, right? And you can use Python for web scraping also. And it's also one of the key skill that a data analyst or a data scientist should have when it comes to working on um, web scraping. So the next thing is you can read and edit Excel files. So you can use Python to read and edit Excel files. So for example, if you want to modify a particular cell in case the user types an input, you can go ahead to do that using Python also, right? You can work with PDFs, right? You can automate email and text messages, right? So in case you want to automatically reply to your email, right? If you want to also automatically reply to text messages, there are libraries that you can use with Python, and it's going to help you to do that, right? And also you can also use Python to fill out forms. Let's go on to the next slide. So now, what else again can you use Python for? Right, you can use Python for data analysis, data science, and machine learning, like I mentioned in our previous class. Right, so when it comes to data science, you can use Python to also analyze large data files. So when it comes to working with files that are like a lot, a lot compared to what Excel can undo, you can use Python for that, right? You can also use Python to create visualization. And what library are you going to use to create Python visualization? We have what? Matplotlib, we have NumPy. So we have Matplotlib, we have Seaborn, we have Plotly for interactive visualization charts. You can check out Plotly, right? So these are the libraries that you can also use to create awesome visualization when it comes to creating visualization for your data analysis or data science projects, right? So what else can you use Python for when it comes to data science? You can also use Python to perform machine learning tasks, right? So when it comes to working with supervised, unsupervised reinforcement, when it comes to building neural networks, you can use Python for that also. There are libraries for building machine learning models, right? Example of a library that you use for building machine learning models is sklearn, scikit-learn. We all know that if you are familiar with it. For example, for libraries that you can use to build neural networks, right? We have TensorFlow, right? We also have JAX. We have TensorFlow, we have JAX, and we also have one other one that starts with P. I can't really remember the name right now. But they are great libraries that you can use to build or perform machine learning tasks, right? So now you can also use it to create and run predictive algorithm, right? So when it comes to working with logistic regression or linear regression, for those that want to dive into the data science, you can actually use Python to do all of that, right? So now let's go on to the next slide, which is what we can actually use Python for again. So the next thing that we can use Python for is to create websites. So you can use Python to actually create websites, and web frameworks such as Django, right? Django, Fast API, and Flags to handle the backend of a website and user data, right? So when it comes to web development, so what I want you guys to do for me right now is, if you are for data analysis class, drop data analysis. If you are for data science class, drop data science in the comment section right now. And if you are for web development, drop web development in the comment section right now. So you can also use Python for um, backend project. I mentioned this earlier on that you can use Python for Django, for you can use there are Python frameworks you can use for backend development, right? So when it comes to working with backend tasks, I mentioned that for JavaScript we have Node.js and the likes, right? But for Python, you can use Django, you can use Fast API, you can use Flask to actually go ahead to create user data, backend user data, right? I can see data analysis are really popping up in my chat. So data analysis are really popping up in today's class. Okay, data analysis, very good. Do we have data science or web development people right here? All right. We're more than this, guys. Let's go ahead to drop the class we are joining for data analysis mostly, right? So I can see we have mostly data analysis people here in our midst. All right. Very I've not seen one data web development or data science. What's going on? Okay, so we might have to do a checkup on the group for data science and web development. All right, so let's go ahead with our slides, right? So now, once you understand the base Python and begin working with few libraries, you will quickly begin to see the vast potential of Python, right? The vast potential Python has for your own project, right? So once we start working with Python, right, we're going to cover the basics first, right? So we're going to cover the basics of Python, cover the core feature that you need to know when it comes to writing Python programming language. We're going to also give you exercises to work on. We're going to do class projects together. So once we are done with covering the basics, right, and we start working with libraries, you're going to see how vast Python programming language is, right, and what we can use it for. So once we can do that, we'll start working with libraries to explore what Python can do further for us. I hope we are all following me in the comment section. All right. Okay. So, as I said earlier, once we understand the base Python and begin working with a few libraries, we're also going to see quickly how Python is basically very fast and how we can use Python for our own projects, right? So now we're going to look at using Python, right? But not just looking at Python for the course itself or just building project itself. You're going to look at how you can use Python for your day-to-day activity, right? So I held a previous section before which was covering fundamentals of generative AI from beginner to advanced, and the people that joined that course that time were actually they learned about Python. All right, they learned about how they can use Python for AI development also. So sorry, quickly, I need to plug my system is about to die. All right, so very good, we're good to go. All right, so we looked at how we can use Python for AI development, building generative AI, building chatbots, right? And what I noticed with my students back then was when we were done doing that, what they now went ahead to do is they went ahead to start using uh, Python development for that day-to-day activity, which was very, very smart of them, right? And I was really, really excited to see um how cool these students were actually open to exploring what Python can do, right? Not just looking at what Python can do to just carry out exercises and all of that, right? We also need to look at how we can use Python for our day-to-day tasks, which is very, very important. We have to look at how we can use Python for our day-to-day tasks, how you can carry, how you can perform simple tasks when it comes to working with your own personal projects. It's very, very important, right? So, for our next lecture, okay, All right. So after we are done with that, next thing that we're going to look at is we're going to look at how we can set up and install Python for our project, right? So in our next lecture, what we're going to do is um that's tomorrow. In our tomorrow's class, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the setup and installation lecture. So what we're going to be doing next is, since we already know what Python is, we already know what Python can do for us, right? We already know the basic tasks that we can use Python for. We already know the difference between Python 2 and Python 3, right? So what we are going to look at in our next lecture is how we can actually go ahead to install and set up Python for our project. And to be honest, I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. We are going to look at the tools that we need to download. Also, please stay active in your communities. In case you are, because you're going to be asked to install a you're going to be asked to install a Python. You're going to be asked to install some tools, right? So just stay active if you need to install anything. I know somebody asked a question that do we need to install anything before class? Don't worry, we're going to look at it together. If you need to install anything, it will be sent to you on your community platform, right? So do we have any question from anybody? Do we have any question? So do you have any question regarding what we learned today? I can see some people are just joining us. Lady Black, I can see the Mind Daily. You are welcome. Do we just have only data analyst students here in our midst today? Okay, so somebody's asking question. David is saying, please, sir, yeah, and out one. Okay. Okay, so I think David is asking that is the handout someone can read through? Um, yes. So there are handouts that you can actually see once you do your research online. So you can do research online. There are a lot of the Python documentations that you can actually go through. You can read. We have awesome documentation like W3 School. So we have W3 School. We have tutorials points. We have nice platform out there that you can use to learn Python programming, right? And I'm also going to show you guys the documentation that you can use for learning Python. So don't worry, once we start our class, make sure you're active always so that you don't miss out on any information. All right. So we also have from IDOM. I got a bit confused about the interpreter and compiler. All right. So the interpreter and compiler, I just wanted to explain to you guys to just know how it works. But let me just go ahead to let me just go ahead to explain again, right? So don't forget that the only language that the machine understands is machine language, right? So once you are writing an high level language, which you all know that Python is an high level language, right? Um, we need to actually convert that high level language to machine language, right? So when you're writing Python code, right, Python will convert your code line by line to machine language before you get your output, right? And the process of the tool that helps us to convert um, high level language line by line to machine language is known as interpreter, right? But when it comes to compiler just takes all your code at once, right? If you write 100 lines of code, it's going to take everything, then convert it to machine language, right? And that's what compiler does. So the difference between compiler and interpreter is interpreter takes it line by line, while compiler just takes everything at once, right? But they both convert high level language to machine language. So I hope I got to explain what you asked for, Idom. All right. Please, I have a request. Go ahead with your request. I'm with you. No, we have full stack. Okay, we have full stack development people in the class also. All right. You guys are highly welcome. David, okay, you welcome, David. I'm currently in the office and I'm following, but I don't know if you can help us with the recording signal. Yeah, so the Mind Tech Daily, once we are done with this live class, automatically the recording is going to be on YouTube, so you can check it out. All right, Edom, I'm glad I got to answer your question. So the Mind Tech Daily, don't worry about that, right? If you want to, so if you're watching the live video and you feel that you want to watch it again, you want to watch the pre-recorded content, what you can do is just go to, okay, let me just walk you guys through it together. So what you can do is just follow along, right? So um a minute. All right, so just go to your browser, right? And just go ahead to open your YouTube. So once you open your YouTube, right, what you can do is go to the Inox Hub channel, search for Inox Hub, right? Inox Hub, right? And once you search for Inox Hub, just click on our channel. And to access the live course that we are currently taking, once we are done with this live, it's going to end. You can see it's currently live, but once we are done, it's going to end. And you can access it by going through the live. Just come here, click on live. So once you click on live, once we are done with this live, you are going to see that it's going to be updated automatically here, right? And for the course material is currently in the description. Going to end. You can see it's currently. So let me just show. Once you click on this place, just click on the course material, course repo. You can see it here. You can go ahead to see the course repo. So this course repo is going to be updated when we are doing the class, right? So because it's a live section, right, the coding class notes are going to be uploaded on a class basis, right? So once we are done with a particular lecture, automatically everything is going to be on YouTube for you all, right? All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed and you learned a lot in today's class. We got to explore the basics of what Python is and what it can do for us, difference between Python 2 and Python 3. So with that being said, that will be the end of today's lecture, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do, please do well to comment down below in the video. It's very important for us so that we can know that we are actually putting out nice content out there for you guys. So do well to comment and like the video. Also share with your friends that you feel that they should learn Python programming, right? We are still open to collecting new students because we are still in the beginners phase, right? So with that being said, that will be the end of today's video, and I'll see you all in tomorrow's video where we are going to be talking about how we can set up and install Python on our system. So with that being said, that will be the end of this video, and see you all in the next one. Bye bye.